Hi everybody, it's Saul Sunforge here for Dungeons and Taverns. Hopefully you're all having a great day. Today's video is on backstory, but I also wanted to include bonds and flaws into this video, just because I didn't think that both of those deserve separate videos. And it's all in the same area of the character sheet. And so I thought I'd just cover it all here for you in one go. So your character backstory is relatively important. It forms a base identity for your character. You can change that through your actions in the game over time, and the backstory is what happens to your character. Before your character starts adventuring, before they start their career. If you were a farmer or, a petty thief or, homeless, whatever, what have you. Those types of things are in your backstory. As a dungeon master, I can tell you with 100% certainty that I don't know, can't speak about all DMs, but the ones that I've spoken to more about D&D than being a player, I can tell you that DMs dislike backstories longer than one page, and it's not because they want to interrupt your creativity or anything silly like that. It's just because if there's a lot of people playing, that's so many backstories. And if everybody's coming to the table with a 5-page backstory, even if you only have 5 players, you can see the problem. DMs like to incorporate your backstory for you into the game to heighten your enjoyment. And so I'm going to cover some of the things that you want to have or not have in your backstory. I've already covered the biggest one is keep it simple in terms of size. You can go pretty much anywhere you want with it. But the length of your backstory is a pretty big contentious point amongst DMs, I'd say. So try to keep it to one page. Some of the things that you want to have in your backstory are things like who your parents are or were if they're deceased, and then if they are deceased, you could write that a little blurb about that in your backstory, how that happened, or maybe some events that you can leave open for the DM to explore with you in the campaign. You can, where you come from is certainly a big portion of your backstory. If you're in a homebrew world, maybe ask your DM for some basics on some of these cities, and pick one. Or maybe the DM will give you like I've done with my characters. Maybe your DM will give you leeway to write in any place you want, and that becomes a city in the game. Not all of my players did that. I had a few players in my campaign that's currently on this YouTube channel. They didn't enter the campaign till late, so they didn't get to make their own little city. But the characters who are there, or who were there from relatively since the beginning, they created their own city name and things, and then I design a map for it, and they either think it's perfect or they have a few changes or things like that, and I might change it up and spend a little bit extra time on that. But that's from the DM perspective of things. From the player perspective of things, your backstory is only the things that you've done up until the point where the campaign kicks off. So you don't want to have a backstory that you don't no dragons have been killed. You've not killed a dragon. Your folks weren't things. DMs definitely hate when players, I should say, not characters, it's the player writing the backstory. but DMs don't like when players try to write into their backstory items that they've been given. Because play there's in terms of role play, yeah, it's cool, but it's always almost always there's been a few times where I've had players write things in and it's like, okay, I can make that work. But almost always when players write things into their backstory, like a shield +2, a +2 tower shield, or a flaming sword, or 50,000 gold in a mansion in a castle, and those are not for you, not yet. They will be for you. Some of them, certainly, the more you play, the more of these things you'll be able to check off. But your backstory as you're a level 1 character. Now, if you're a level 3 character or a level 5 character, which are usually the other starting points for campaigns, and level 10's another one, actually. But people start out at those levels more often than, level 20, 15, So, level 1 character, though, is going to have accomplished less things in their backstory. Think of your backstory, your bonds, and your flaws, and your ideals, and all that stuff. Think of those as, you're progressing towards those things. Your backstory can have a lot of unresolved business in it, and that's great. That's gold. A DM can mine that for many, many sessions. So keep it realistic, I suppose, is the TLDR version. Keep it realistic. And then, be prepared.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, let me get her juice real quick. Be prepared to have to alter or even scrap a backstory. I've not scrapped backstories, but I have made, asked for alterations to backstories, just because I felt like the character presented too many, I keep saying character. I'm mixing player and character. They're interchangeable in this instance, but the player will write the backstory for the character and include a whole slew of things that they've done already. And those aren't for the backstory. Those are for the campaign. Those are things you're going to do. Like, you're not a level 1 character who's killed a dragon, who's faced down a beholder, who's a veteran of a war or 2 wars, or, it's just, you're a king, or, it's just like those things are not for backstories. Those are things that may progress in the campaign. And then what else would you need besides where you come from? The reason that you started adventuring, that you left your previous life aside, or at the very least substantially changed the course of events in your life and in the lives of other people. You want to talk about a little bit about, your life on the streets. Maybe you learn to play a music instrument, and so, you travel to taverns and you play instruments for some coins. And that would be fine because it can explain how you got your starting currency. Every character, as you know, or you'll soon find out, has a different level of currency that they start out with, different gold amount, and the later your character is in starting, so level 3, level 5, you'll get more of that currency. Well, that backstory would explain, as a traveling musician, would explain the currency. and so it's not a benefit that you get over the other players. Um, and so yeah, that kind of covers backstory as fast as I can. I mean, obviously, it's more intricate than that. You could create, you know, a really sweet backstory in a page. Is my point. You don't need to go 2 pages or longer. You're not making a resume. You're just talking about what your character has been up to before your life as an adventurer. The next thing I would like to talk about are bonds. Bonds are things that your character believes in strongly. Feel free to go big here. And this could be something, and really all these topics in this video could be incorporated into your backstory. And use your backstory to formulate in your mind what type of character you're going for. So bonds are, like I said, there's something your character can believe in. Here are some examples of some bonds that you could have. I actually wrote a few down here. Let's see here. What did I write down? Oh, for your character. I may be rough on the outside, but I'll always have a soft spot for children. That's something I went with my druid in the Curse of Strahd campaign. That is also on the channel. I feel like as my character, the druid, is an outsider. They're a hermit, and so I'm trying to play them with the social graces of somebody who lacks the interaction with other people on a regular basis. But something that they always will do is heal children, and basically their whole backstory is kind of on that fact. I mean, if you boil it down, that they go and they heal, they help sick people, but they help the children the most, and the money that they make from that is what they use to go to the next town and do it again. And so even though they're rough on the outside and they may not have the manners of somebody who's from civilized or high society, they can fit that in. Their bond fits into their backstory. That's kind of what I was talking about. Or I strive to provide my children with a better life than my parents provided for me. That these are things that your DM can work with you with and incorporate these into the story that you wish to tell, or help shape to tell for your character. So a lot of things that are for bonds, bravery, kindness, those are pretty good themes for your bonds. Callie, hush, honey, I'm almost done.
Okay, Daddy.
Flaws are a little bit self-explanatory. I mean, you should know what a flaw is yourself. But flaws are things, anything that your character believes, says, or does, that would be looked down on or frowned upon by most of society. Like if your character is mistrusting of others instinctively, like off the bat, that's your default, is you're mistrusting of others, then that would be a flaw. You're too mistrusting. Or if you're mistrusting of not everybody, just other races, you're xenophobic. Or simply you don't care about other people. You just, they're just means to an end for your goals specifically. And you don't really care about their goals or their feelings or wants. That's a flaw. Greed is an amazing flaw. So many people have so many people out there in real life are greedy. and that's a flaw. If you're greedy and you're to the detriment of other people, you know, uh, you might as well be the BBEG yourself. But um, greed is a good motivator for a flaw. Like for instance, you secretly despise people who are wealthier than you, and so you seek to obtain the most wealth that you can in order to rub it in other people's faces as much as you can. That's a big flaw. I mean, and you can see how your DM could work and interact with all these mechanics that the book even itself provides for you. The book has a bunch of amazing charts and things. You roll the dice, and you can, it gives you your bond, your flaw, and you can use those to propel yourself forward in the creation of your character. If you can't think of anything, or you don't want to, or you just created hundreds and hundreds of characters, and it's whatever the case may be, the book has the charts in it. You roll the dice, it gives you the result, and a lot of times, the results may not coincide together necessarily, but that also I find makes very interesting and dynamic characters. That's one thing that's always going to be true about D&D is that everybody's trying to make an interesting character, and that's why you end up coming up with these half dwarf, half Kalistar, solar, freaking demon of the nine hells. You're half angel, half devil. Like people come up with those things because they're trying to be unique, and they're not. I'm just letting you know now, they're not unique doing those things. What makes your character unique is what you put into your character. The stories you tell before the story, and stories that the DM is able to extrapolate and expand to progress your backstory, or even resolve issues in your backstory as the campaign goes along. And then those are how you write the backstory and things like that. You can pick in the game in the excuse me, in the source book. The backstories come with their own benefits too to your character. Like they might give you a language, tool proficiency, but they all will give you skills. Like religion and insight. And they have a archetype like scholar, hermit, noble, knight, and each one of those in the book has they give you extra tools and abilities and skills that you're proficient in. And you can also just customize it if your DM allows you to, and you'll get your two skills, or you'll get your one language and your proficiency, or however your DM decides to do it. But each of them comes with added benefits. So if you don't want to participate in any of this, you might have DMs who will be cool with that. I mean, you're basically giving them less work to do, which is fine. That's good for DMs who have a lot on their plate, but you have to realize that you're sacrificing a decent amount of your screen time, and you'll still be the main character for a few sessions here or there, because that's how I do it. Almost every session there's a new main character. If you've watched my stuff, you'll notice that. I'll have a main character, or a main character for an arc, but I try to switch them out, so this way the face of the party is always different, and everybody gets a cycle or two. So yeah, I think that's everything I had to say. I didn't really write much of a script. I just wrote, some examples for some of these things that I was talking about. But the main idea itself was just, me talking. So hopefully, through my ramblings, you've been able to find yourself a solid message to what I'm saying. You can apply it to yourself, and hopefully it helps you make D&D the best game you can make it for 2022. Thank you, and have a great day. Mwah.